My name is Remington Steele, and this is my Intro to Digital Imaging final portfolio. So, in an attempt to kind of make this kind of overview short, I'm just going to hit some few points. When I'm looking at photos, to edit my photos and to process my photos and make them better, I really try not to push it. I want to make them better, not fake, and keep them true. The biggest thing for me is making sure that the subject stands out. I always took a picture for a reason. I wanted to capture a certain moment of something. Um, and I really like and I really enjoy going through and making sure that my subject stands out and that my subject is meaningful and as powerful as it was when I took it and as I intended it to be. Something I also enjoy really working on and that I really look for when I'm editing my photos is color and making sure that vibrant colors are vibrant, dull colors are dull, keeping a normal contrast, but also allowing the beauty of a specific color to be what it was intended to be, regardless of whatever could have happened in the photo taking process. Other than that, I try not to do too much, but I usually like doing enough that sets the mood, sets the point, gives me the style that I'm looking for that particular photo, but also keeps it true and keeps it realistic. Um, but really bringing out the beauty of whatever I was looking at and what I was trying to capture in the moment while I was there. This next photo is really important to me because it's one of the only times I ever get these 5 people in a room together. It's my grandparents, my mother, and then my aunts and uncles. Because this picture is very important, I wanted to make sure that they all looked natural. I wanted to make sure that they were clear, reducing noise, sharpening their features, and making them look natural, but also bringing out their true looks. And I also wanted to whiten up the teeth a little bit, reduce a little wrinkles here or there, and just make them look as great as they do in my eyes. And then, brighten it, make some colors stand out, and make it a little bit better. This photo is also important to me. It's my younger brother, obviously before graduation. In this case, some of the things I was looking at when I was editing this photo was reducing some of the noise in the background, but enhancing the contrast with the wall and him. I used a flash, so I wanted to try to reduce the flashiness in his face, his eyes, and also a little bit on the clothing. I wanted to make it look more natural, so I did some of that stuff, and then I tried to bring some of the more natural, just before summer colors into his face, whiten his teeth a little bit, bring out a little bit of the red in the hair and in the skin tones, remove some of the washed out, and just make him look more natural. But also enhance the contrast with him in the background and a little bit of the color on the green. But mostly, I just wanted to make him stand out and reduce the washout from the flash and just make it all about him. This one is my brother and my mother at his graduation. This one's really important to my mother actually, so I decided to edit for her. But also with some of the stuff I did on here, I wanted to put in the project. Um, a lot of my mother's face I tried to adjust some of the wrinkles. She enjoyed that, obviously, but I tried to keep her looking natural, and I think I did a pretty good job at that. I whitened both their teeth, made them a little bit stand, stand out a little bit more, bring some of the colors in their clothing out. Again, more natural face, um, not so much washout. The one thing I would critique myself on this photo was I was trying to create some contrast. I blurred the background a little bit, and I tried to create some contrast by making it a little bit darker and making it stand out a little bit more on them. And I did make it a little bit too dark. It's a little unnatural for me. I actually kind of wish I could tone that back, but for the purposes of this, I just left it, and I still kind of like how they stand out. This photo I actually have talked about before and the importance in it in how much use I get out of using the planner. So for the most part, what I wanted to do with this photo was reduce some of the noise, um, avoid some of the, there's a lot of clash between the light coming in from the window and my flash, something that I wish I would have done a little bit differently, maybe shut the blinds, or used only the light from the outside. But I do kind of like how when I went through and did some changes to it, kind of how it kind of made like almost a dark shadowy look on the edges, but then really made the white and the paper stand out and the highlighter stand out. Again, I'll critique myself on this one a little bit. I kind of wish the uh, the words that were highlighted were a bit more clear. And I feel like I'm drawing eyes there, but then it's not something you necessarily can read or see, um, which gives a little bit of different of a focus, which I kind of like, but it is a little bit different for me. But I do like how I was able to clear it up, reduce noise, and make the colors pop. This photo as well um, was a little tougher. It was hard to reduce some of the noise in there on the fire hydrant, but I was able to actually get some of it gone, and a good majority of it. Some of the stuff you see there is a lot of texture of the fire hydrant, which is hard to distinguish between noise and texture, obviously. So I had some struggles there, making it a little too smooth, a little too rough. So it took me a little bit of time there. But in this one, I really wanted to bring out the color, also of the fire hydrant, but also the sky and the trees. Brighten it up a little bit so you can see what's going on, but also enjoy a little bit of the dimness, a little bit of looking into the sunlight there. And it was a pretty fun one to work on. Um, that's about it. This photo we've also talked about before, really important to me because it's my home in the town where I grew up and stuff like that. This one, what I really tried to do was bring out a lot of the color. It was the focus point is the flag in a sense, but at the same time, I wanted everything to kind of mesh together. It's one of the only photos here where I didn't have like a central subject, which I kind of wish I had changed, but for the most part, I kind of like how it's, although not focused on one thing, it still kind of comes together all in all. And so in this case, I brought some of the greens out in the grass, brightened up the rock a little bit, also bringing out some of the color in the paint of the house and the flag especially. This one was really difficult to reduce noise in the house and the flag. It was like I could get one but not the other, so I kind of had to divvy it up. Worked on the noise, did some sharpening, and came up with this. This photo, also talked about before, my yearbooks from high school, so important to me. This one was shot in the darkest setting, so it was actually the hardest to reduce noise. There's a lot of different things going on and trying to make one thing clear, but getting too much contrast or making another thing dull out, but losing something else. And this one I was actually fighting with a lot, with especially the wordings on the binding of the books. But for the most part, I kind of like where it turned out. It's bright, you can kind of see what's going on. Not the super interesting kind of photo, but meaningful to me. So something that I enjoyed working on, cropping, and bringing in the focus on the books themselves. This one, as I showed in the beginning, I wanted to definitely talk about this one because it probably had one of the most drastic changes, I think, but in a good way. When I took this photo, I was really stoked. It was a beautiful sunset, right off my back porch, one of those ones that you just grab and then you upload it on the computer and you get that gray sky and the white washout and everything and blur, and just wasn't anything that I expected. So I really on this one was working with the blending tool, worked with a lot of the clarity tool, and really made the yellow and the sun pop, also bringing in a lot of the blue in the sky. It was something I really enjoyed working on actually, and then also keeping the silhouette kind of version of the trees was something I really tried to do, and going in with a detailed brush and making sure that the clarity in the branches stayed as I adjusted contrasts and colors in the background. This one was probably second up there on a tough one to work on. As I talked about in class before, really wanted to make it central. I almost was trying to turn this into like a grocery ad looking tomato thing. A lot of it was removing some of the washout from the window in the background, a lot of that white, getting rid of that white, building contrast in the tomatoes, but also especially my biggest point was to bring out the red in the tomatoes. That was really important to me because I wanted to make sure 100% that these things looked red. And something that was hard there was adjusting, bringing out more red, getting too much magenta. It was a lot of learning how to fight that back and get what I wanted, and they ended up getting a good mixture of red and orange in all the tomatoes, and something that I really liked. Lastly, really hard getting was some of the noise in there. It was very, very, very noisy after doing a lot of the adjustments, so I had to go back in, adjust noise, bring up bring up the sharpening, and ended up turning out really, really well. Almost exactly what I was looking for, and was really enjoyable to work with. This photo was actually pretty cool working with, especially right after we learned about noise reduction, clarity, and then bringing out some of the colors. I actually pushed back some of the colors, as you can see. Some of the ones I didn't really want, I wanted to focus on the green, so I actually got some of the brown out of there and pulled out some of the green. And then also below, pulling out some of the blue in the water, because it was very blue, but after capturing the picture and then looking back on it, it came out really green because of the reflections and stuff like that. And then I ended up working a lot on the sky. So I cropped to get some of that washed out sky I didn't want in the branch on the right, and then ended up working a lot on trying to bring out the clouds, and but also not damaging anything else. And something that we worked on in class that kind of ended up helping me, working on the contrast back there, but not damaging what's going on with the trees and everything else. A really cool photo to work with as well, and turned out pretty nice. This photo actually had some of the most interesting work done to it. There's still more that I wish I could do, but that I'm not quite confident in doing, and something that I'm going to have to play with more as time goes on. But as you can see, I kind of made invisible children back there. I wanted to get rid of those boys in the background. Again, some of my other photos is build contrast with the background, make sure that the two girls stood out. Tried to bring out some of the color in the dress, which is pretty clear there. Also some of the other colors in the clothing and then in their skin, making them not look so washed out from the flash, a little bit more natural, which ended up being something that I struggled with. I actually didn't have that much noise and sharpening struggle with this photo. It actually came out very, very clear for being at night. But I have some glare issues with some of the facing, and that's something that I still have to work on. I've been working on trying to get better at, and just making sure that they look natural, not shiny, and not awkward, unhuman. But I did get some of the color out on them. Definitely got rid of the voice in the background. Now it just looks like a dirty wall, and made sure that they stood out. One thing I definitely kind of something I mentioned earlier and something that we talked about in class. I didn't want to take away wrinkles. I didn't want to take away imperfections. I wanted to leave both subjects kind of in the realm of the beauty that they already are, and not do too much, but still make sure that it's there for the observer to see how I saw it that night. Just a mother-daughter moment, pretty funny, and make sure that they stand out, no distractions, bring some life into them, and then settle with that. And finally, I'm done. One thing I would like to just comment on, thank on, praise on for a minute is just how fun this class actually was. Granted, long classes, long days, and sometimes didn't exactly want to be the place I wanted to be. It was actually a really interesting class. I learned a lot of skills, something that I'm going to be able to take on for the future in taking my photos, something my mom is already asking me to do for a bunch of stuff she wants done. And so it was a fun class. I learned a lot, and it was really enjoyable to take. A little sad that it's over. I think it could have gone a little bit longer. Some people are going to hate me for saying that, but at the same time, I think there's a lot more that we could have learned. But for a 2 credit class, for the time being, it definitely worked out and was definitely awesome to take. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope you enjoyed the photos, and take care.